you can quickly see the problem. This actuator right here is no longer attached. There's the problem, there's the fix. When you get the new one, all of these holes are not tapped. They are self-tapping screws. I bought a M6x1 tap. I'm going to tap them all because it just seems a lot easier to tap them here out of the car when you're sure that you can get a good thread started, rather than rely on the self-tapping screws. Okay, so the holes are tapped in the top. They're not that important. All they do is hold things down. So it's not the end of the world if, one of them doesn't go perfectly. I mean, these two in the back hold the wire harness. These two hold the engine computer. I guess the only ones that are, semi-important are the ones that hold down the fuel rail. Although I don't really think the fuel rail is going to hop up out of there. But in any case, it's time to put the throttle body on. You can see I have cleaned it. It is now shiny. It only goes on one way, so you don't have to worry. I guess actually you could mistake. No, it can only go on one way. It goes this way. This is that tube that goes over to the all the way up across the to the front, and this one is the brake booster hose. So got a new gasket. Put it on there. On the gasket, also you can't put it in backwards. There's a kind of like a Japanese handcuff kind of thing on the bottom that's supposed to fit on this lug down here, and it's supposed to hold it, except it does nothing. So that's fine. Obviously, anything in aluminum, if you don't start it by hand first, you're asking for trouble. All right. Let's see if it's going to stay. I guess it'll tip over that way. Move this over like that. Okay. Again, it won't stay up. I couldn't find the torque spec on this. I think it's 80 inch-pounds. That's what it is for the remaining of the bolts through the head, so I'm going to go with that. 80 inch-pounds is hardly anything. And that's that. This is ready to go back in. Time to put on the gaskets. Here are the part numbers. It's one. It's the other. So these gaskets, like the throttle body, have these little pinch point things on them that fit on the studs. The problem is you put them on and they pop off. And I'm afraid that when it's upside down and you're putting it on the head, that they will just fall down in there and it's going to be difficult to align. So my next plan was to get some longer threaded M61 bolts. Put those in the head, cut the heads off, of course, put those in the heads, a couple places, and then use that for the alignment. The problem is that the hole in the gasket is so much larger than the hole in the than the bolt that I'm afraid it's going to move around, and that's not going to work either. So my latest plan is, and if you're wondering, it's one for one side and one for the other, and they're not the same, so you don't have to worry about putting them in backwards. My latest plan is to use some adhesive to hold them down. So I got some Permatex Ultra Black, and I'm just going to put just a little bit on the hold down points and then let it dry. And then when I put it in, I'll be assured that it's in the right spot and that it's not going to fall down. So I'm going to do that now. So as you can see, even just sitting here, they pop off. So that's the reason you have to use the adhesive. I don't know who came up with those things, but not a good plan. The manifold is ready to go back in. I did a couple things off the camera. One is the knock sensor wire tie was, where's that? Right there, was broken. Not that I think that matters at all, but I put a new one on there. Also got a new windshield washer cap. Here's the part number for that, in case you need one of those. How anybody could lose one of those, I have no idea, but I could understand how one could break. I just can't understand how it could be gone, but it was gone. The two vacuum lines that are on the front of the manifold go. One goes to the map sensor, said that already. The other one goes down to the air injection pump solenoid. So there is the air injection pump. There is the air injection pump solenoid, and the solenoid goes to the two actuators. So there's one there and there's one down there, one for this side and one for this side. And so there's a vacuum line that comes out, splits in two, and that goes to the two. So there's a bunch of lines that run through here, but there's only two that go to the manifold. The first one, of course, goes to the map sensor, and the second one goes to this line right there. And so there's a rubber elbow, and then it goes to a hard plastic line. The plastic line looks like this plastic line, except that it's way down there. So what we need to do is put a small rubber vacuum line on the hard plastic tube that will go to the front of the intake manifold. And therein lies the problem, because the manifold is like there and the connection is down here. You know, obviously it just has to make it there. So if you put an elbow here, you could probably come up and go around there. I understand why they went this way. It looks better, and that's the way they did it. But you certainly, if it was too hard to get to, you could get an elbow on there, come up, and then just go around and meet to here. It's a direct shot. Because this is all in here, we're just going to do it the way that it's lined up. So here are the two old pieces that were on there. And here, clean up this mess, is the new vacuum line that I got. That's the part number. That's the Dodge part number. There's also a Mercedes part number. You can see it says, made in Germany. This is a Mercedes part with a sticker on it from Dodge. In any case, it's 9/64. You will never measure 9/64 with a caliper on the inside. You have to put a drill bit in there because it's rubber. It'll just, go wherever the caliper says. But you can measure the inside and the outside diameter. I got 5 meters of it when I need 1 foot, but it is what it is. So I'm going to cut these pieces and put them on. This is silicone dielectric grease. I use this for everything. You put it on pieces of rubber, it makes them last. Slips on easier. Good stuff. This is the small tube that goes on the the hard vacuum line. I'm going to just put a little of this on with Q-tip, without the Q-tip part, and that'll be that. Okay, so I have the vacuum line installed for the map sensor. I have everything cleaned. This tube has to go under. Oh, I did the knee reverse. Need a flashlight. Try to see if I can get down in there. Okay, hopefully that's in there. Enough of that. That should be that. So the most important thing now is to make sure that the gasket did not move. I can see it. I'm going to take a minute off camera and check it with the mirror just to make absolutely sure. Okay, I know I said there wasn't any special tools required, and this really isn't a special tool, but it's what's needed. It's only about $20 on Amazon. It's a borescope, hooks up to your phone. It's the only way that I can see down in the holes to make sure that the gasket has not moved. So let's just see if you can see that one is not moved. It's kind of hard to hold the camera and hold this at the same time. Let's try. That one has not moved. That one has not moved. That one has not moved. See the one in the front here. That looks good. And that looks good. And if we try the fuel injectors, we can see clear down through the bottom there. Actually, maybe go all the way down to the cylinder. I mean the valves. Let's see. That one is not moved. That looks good. That looks good. It's looking good. Last one. Perfect. Okay, so we're sure that the gasket has not moved. I guess you could try with the machine screws when you put them in. Just make sure they jiggle and it's a room around the hole. But then you won't know if the gasket got kinked or came off the side. This way, you're sure. Okay, before I go any further, I'm going to hook up the throttle body because that connector is tough to get to in the back. Okay, the next step is to just torque those down to 9 Newton meters, so that's 80 inch-pounds. Going in a crisscross pattern from the center. Just going to snug them all up a little bit first. One more time. There you go. Installed. The rest is easy. You have won now. Once this is done, you've won. Okay, the next thing to go on is the elbow onto the throttle body. I put a little bit of grease on the silicone grease on the elbow for no particular reason other than I love the stuff. It just snaps on, no big deal. Get it in the right spot. Can't be done with the camera in place. Okay, the next thing are the switches for the flappers. So you just snap those in. This one is easy to get to. This one is not. I'm gonna have to let go of this rope. Not snapping. Good. Okay, finally, the next step is to put back the fuel rail. So there are O-rings on each of the fuel injectors. If you look right here, these are the holes where the fuel injectors go. You don't want any extra air to get down in around the fuel injector. These feel like they're in okay shape, but they were cheap enough. So I just have a pick. I'll just go through. Pull them off. Put the new ones on with some silicone grease. Okay, it's time to put the fuel rail on. The one important thing is this wire has to be on that switch before you put the fuel rail on, because it sits on top of the the wiring harness, and you won't be able to clip it in afterwards. So that's got to be on. The opposite side I think you can get on anytime, but this one has to be on. So make sure that that's plugged in and the wiring harness is sitting there and loose. We're going to take this, slip it under the wiring harness till it lines up with the holes in the manifold. Just get it right where it needs to go and push it down. It's probably the easiest step. Torque spec for these is the same as the others, but I don't think it really matters, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. Okay, not shown on camera was the battery dying on that torque wrench and me resorting to checking everything with the click type torque wrench just to make sure they're all good. So now we can untie all the ropes, let the harness free. And now it's just a matter of putting everything back. Got it, goes there. We have the lifting eye hooks. They're both the same, so it doesn't matter which one goes on which side. We have the fuel supply to put on still. Takes care of that. Probably could have left the coils plugged in. Didn't have to move over that much. But this is what it is. They're all on. Now for the solenoids. You can't put these in the wrong place. They only fit one way. Some for the click. That's good. That one's still on. This one is the actuator for the air that goes to the two air injection pump. All right, before I put the ECM brackets on, I have to connect the injector connectors and also bolt this guy down. So I'm going to do that first. Hard to see. These snap in real easy. The one in the back goes underneath. Okay, it appears I went out of order. The rear fuel injector is right underneath this wiring harness that is held on by the bracket. And so you can't get the plug onto the injector with the harness still attached. So I'm gonna have to remove that screw one more time. That's not too bad. Okay, so important tip. It's easier to put the rear injector on without this bracket in place. Not impossible, it does go on. You just have to loosen this up and kind of pry it up out of the way a little bit. Not the end of the world. Okay, let me put the rest of them in over here. We have one right here. Here. And one right there. All right, zoom in there. So that's one, that's two, that's three. They're easy to get to. This one in the back right here is the one that's a little difficult to get to, but not impossible. So now we can finish up. That's all good. That's where that goes. That can be put back now. Plugged onto there, plugged onto there. Just check, check. Check. All good. Obviously, I just wanted to practice putting that bolt back in. Okay, this line goes on this side of the fuel injector lines, underneath through the back, just like that. And then ends up right in the top of the throttle body like that. Goes around, comes up. Then it clips in right here, just like that. This is supposed to snap in there like that. And then sits in there, and now this, and we bolt it down. There should be no pressure on any wires. Does not look like there are. Everything is good. Screw back in. take this rope off of here. So where does this end go? This end goes into the breather of the valve cover. So you lift this up. I already put some grease inside the tube. Fits right onto this nipple right there. Just like that. This of course goes back in here. Okay, so earlier when I took this off, it looked like it could just come off. There's two tines that are on there, and these are a little bit bent, but it's supposed to slide on that way. Unfortunately, it looks like someone broke them off already, so only the top is there, and that's why I was able to twist it off before. But it's pretty well held, so we're going to leave that alone. Next we have a bolt right here. There's that one. There's the two that hold the wire harness in the back. That one and that one. So they're taken care of. There's the other side of the ECM bracket. There's the bolt back here for the wiring harness. Okay, then there's one right here that we took off. Put that back. And then the final bolt is right here. Couple more things. We have the vacuum line that goes to the map sensor. We have the electrical connector to the map sensor, and then we have this side valve actuators and sensors. Camshaft actuators and sensors, actually. So there's 4 there. This guy came Guess easier just to pull him off. Put a little grease on that. Just a little. That. Alrighty then. Alright, it is always good to check because I forgot air injection pump connector. I got a wire tie, this broken wire harness. Okay, we're down to a few things. We have the brake booster. I'm not going to click that on yet. I'm going to check whether the map goes on first or not. Okay, so we have the mass airflow sensor and connector remaining. Put that on there. That clicked. Let's pull this out of the way. Snapped. That snapped. That snapped. Okay, that's tight. See the little snap on the back is in, and the two snaps on the side. All right. We have the ECM. Oh, can't forget the brake booster cable. Good. Excellent. Put a little grease on these guys, just because. Good grief. Okay. Check to make sure I have it in the right spot before tighten the clamp. About there. One more check. Okay. Okay, the battery died at the moment of triumph. All we have left is the jumper point. And the air injection pump hose. So put that on down there, on up there. Looks good. Okay, now we just have to connect the battery. Push the red tab back up. Locked on. That's it. Gotta go find the key. First start. So that's a plus. Didn't blow up or anything. It even has a new windshield wiper. What more could you ask for? I think it's pretty clear from this video that I am not a mechanic. And yet I was able to solve the swirl flat problem on a 2007 Dodge Sprinter Mercedes M72 engine. The only difficult part is getting the connectors undone without breaking the tabs. Certainly you could break the tabs right off and it won't come apart. Some people would argue, you know, maybe a professional mechanic would be better. I would argue they wouldn't be better, they would be faster. Certainly they would be a lot faster. But if you think that a mechanic that's trying to make a living is going to sit with a pick and a flashlight and a mirror and try to get a connector off without breaking the tab, there's just no way. They're going to try to pull the connector off. If it comes off, great. If not, they're going to break the tab off. In any case, definitely a doable project. There are no really difficult things that stop you. There's no air conditioning lines to take off. There's no trying to judge how wide an RTV bead is that you're putting on. There's no coolant passages that you're trying to seal. It's just a matter of taking the intake manifold off and replacing it with a new one. Until the next video. Thanks.